Hello everyone, Ninja Nick back with the finals of this League Cup tournament at Flipside Gaming in East Greenbush, New York. The week before NAIC. All of us were really just using this for testing. The points didn't matter for any of us. I think Scott really wanted the mat is the thing. So we do have the finals. Scott, again, for the fourth time at this on camera. I think this is the most I've ever had him during one tournament on camera. He's a good player, so as long as he's winning on camera, I guess it works out. I can't win on my own camera. I think I have a losing record, which is unfortunate. But, you know, if I just learned to play well, maybe that would be different. Versus Nico, we've seen him twice now as well, so this will be his third time, Scott's fourth time for this one tournament. Crazy to see. We have the Lugia single strike deck here on the right, so we're just going to have to hope that Nico doesn't brick, because that's what, in my experience, Lugia has done every single time you play it, ever since rotation. Quick Ball was a huge hit for it, because you would Quick Ball away Archeops into the discard pile to search for Luminion to grab your stuff, and you now no longer have... and Evolution Incense as well. You don't have Evolution Incense anymore. Quick Ball and Evolution Incense were both huge losses for the deck. Now you have to play Capturing Aroma and Nest Ball, which makes the deck infinitely less consistent. Lugia was fine losing everything else, because I think you would still play it similarly to how you do now. You would just replace the 2 Nest Balls and for Capturing Aroma with like 4 and 4 Quick Ball and Evolution Incense. And then you just have to find another couple cuts somewhere else too. But that would make sense. That would be a pretty good thing. But unfortunately, we do not have that. So we are going to Ultra Ball away. Or no, we Nest Ball for the Lugia. And then we Ultra Ball away the Lugia and the... Urn of Vitality to grab Archeops, and then we're using Research to discard the Archeops. So we're going to get at least 1 in the discard pile on this turn 1. You want to see 2 before you use your V-Star power on the Lugia V-Star. Scott was able to get 4 Ralts into play, but unfortunately that was it for him. No Radiant Greninja. He does have a Cresselia in hand. That's not really what you need right now. No Mew to try to find like another Battle VIP pass or whatever. But Scott, I mean, having 4 Ralts in play is fantastic, because you can get 4 Kirlia or 3 Kirlia and a Gardevoir EX or something, and be able to take a big knockout on this next turn. You could even see Zacian come out and one-shot the Lugia V, which is why... Nico was forced to get that second Lugia V onto the bench. I don't think that you necessarily want to attack with Lugia in this matchup. You'd rather attack with Tyranitar to maybe, you know, knock out a Kirlia or a Gardevoir and then mill some cards out of your opponent. You do hit the Darkness weakness on these Pokemon. And it looks like we are going to go for the Iono here. So Nico did just research into a big hand, and now that is going away. I mean, he's still getting 6 cards, so it's fine. But he might have had something good in there. In the disruption against Lugia, you never want to see it as the Lugia player. But at least it's not Judge. Judge is what really hurts the deck a lot. So we do see Level Ball Fog Crystal. We are going to be able to get maybe the Mew. No, we're going to go for... yeah, we're probably going to get Mew and... Kirlia, maybe? No, it looks like we're going Mew and maybe Zacian. No, we're going to go for the Psychic Energy with the Fog Crystal. All right. Not too bad. Hopefully we see our other Kirlia. Oh, we got 2 Kirlia in play already. He did it so fast I didn't even notice it. So we were looking for maybe 1 more Kirlia, and the Rare Candy Gardevoir EX would be pretty great. We're going to use Second Refinement here after we just drew into another Psychic Energy. We do have a Battle VIP Pass we could Refinement away as well, as long as we are able to find another Kirlia. We do have a Fog Crystal as well that could get us the Zacian, but we still need Rare Candy Gardevoir EX. I think maybe Gardevoir EX is in his hand. Yes, it is, but no Rare Candy just yet. So he is going to retreat into the Mew to try to find the Rare Candy. But again, now that he's used his retreat for turn, he's not going to be able to retreat into anything else. So getting the Rare Candy here isn't too relevant. So we are going to see him just find a Battle VIP pass. That's perfectly fine. Just, you know, thin it out of your deck. Maybe if you find an Ultra Ball next turn off the Mew, if it doesn't get knocked out, then you can Ultra Ball away both of those. Or you can just use your refinements or your research to get rid of it. We are really deciding on whether or not we want to use our Fog Crystal here. I think it wouldn't be wrong to use the Fog Crystal to get the Zacian and use Roar the Sword on itself. Because then you can get a big Lugia V-Star knockout on this next turn, but it depends on how many Psychic Energies are in your discard pile, if you really think you're going to be able to get into that or not. So not the best start from Scott, but still a pretty great one. So it looks like Nico is going to use the Evolution Incense Flips Tails. I think he was looking for a Heads probably to get an Archeops to discard. But since he got Tails, he's going to grab the Radiant Serena because that's not relevant in this matchup. So just to thin that out of the deck for maybe the research he's holding. I'm not sure what they're doing with that die on the other side. Maybe he's like, is there a Heads on this die? It's probably what he's saying. So we do get another attach of a Single Strike Energy to the Tyranitar. And research away double Archeops. Okay, so flipping Tails on that Capturing Aroma did not matter. I think it would have been a little bit better to thin the deck of the Archeops, because then you'd have all 4 Archeops in your discard pile. Completely dead cards otherwise. We are going to flip our V-Star marker. We are going to get our double Archeops into play. We're going to probably want to put a double Turbo and a Gift Energy onto the Lugia V-Star, and then a V-Guard. What's it? V-Guard and Gift Energy onto the Tyranitar as well, maybe? Or are we attacking with the Lugia this turn? No, it's better to attack with the Lugia here. So if you get V-Guard on the Lugia, you can keep the Tyranitar on your bench. We are going for the double turbo. That's fine to get the double turbo with the second Archeops. Because you don't worry about that minus 20. It's not going to be super relevant unless you're trying to one-shot as fresh Zacian. But you know if he's attacking with Zacian at this point, he's going to have to use Psychic Embrace. So yeah, minus 20 does not matter here in this aspect. So I think Scott's like blowing or kissing his Mew to like try to get something good off of his thing, or no, he's kissing it goodbye maybe. I don't know what he's doing with it. We are going to Ultra Ball away a Lugia V and a Mesagosa. We don't want to put that Mesagosa in play so that our opponent can use it. We are all fully set up right now, so Mesagosa not super relevant. Although you could have put Mesagosa in play, flipped Heads, gotten the last Archeops out of your deck, and then Ultra Balled that away. But, I mean, then you're relying on the coin flip, because you could always Tempest Dive the Mesagosa out of play as well. So, I mean, that's a 50-50 to get an additional card off of that. But had you failed that, then you're losing another card out of your hand. So, I'm not sure if it's worth the risk is worth the reward. So, we are going to Fog Crystal to get a Psychic Energy. I'm pretty sure there has to be a Professor's Research in Scott's hand here, because that would be really... yeah, there is a Professor's Research in hand. He has the Juniper one. So he's going to be able to get rid of all those Psychic Energies and all those Battle VIP passes and be able to draw a pretty fantastic new hand. But it looks like he's going to go for the Refinements first. Maybe he's going to try to find the Rare Candy. Oh, yeah, because he has Gardevoir EX in hand. So I think he's trying to find the Rare Candy so he can get the value out of the Gardevoir EX that's currently in hand now. We're also attaching the Reversal Energy to the Ralts. We are behind in prize cards. We have not taken a prize yet. So that is great to see. And I think we're just going to, yeah, evolve into that Gardevoir EX over the Kirlia that we just used Refinement with. So, yeah, getting the value out of Refinement first. We are going to play the Collapse Stadium, discarding a hand of completely irrelevant cards and Psychic Energies. That's amazing. The last card that was in hand was the Manaphy, which doesn't do anything against Lugia. So, yeah, Scott, that was the perfect research Scott could have ever asked for. He's drawing like an Arceus right now. And by an Arceus, I mean a god and not an Arceus deck, because sometimes Arceus draws a little weird. But we are going to now level ball. We can get another Kirlia here. We do have one Ralts on the bench that we could turn into a Kirlia. That would be pretty great. We're looking for Rare Candy Shining Arcana now, so we can evolve this active Ralts I mean, at worst case scenario, we might be able to memory skip, but that would mean that we're not getting the value out of the reversal energy, unfortunately. And then the Lugia will die after the... Or the Ralts will die after the Lugia retreats into the T-Tar, so... Yeah, so we are going to use our refinement with the next Kirlia here. Or no, we're going to use Greninja concealed cards, getting rid of a Psychic Energy first. Because Kirlia can get rid of any card. So if you draw into like more Battle VIP passes or something, you could discard those with the Kirlia. Whereas the Greninja can only discard energy. So if you have an energy in hand, it's always correct to use concealed cards first in the sequencing order. Because again, like... Kirlia can get discard Manaphy, that Level Ball that we just saw get discarded. There's nothing else that we're looking for off of Level Ball. I suppose that you could have used the Level Ball to get the last Kirlia out of your deck, and then refinement that away. That would have thinned the deck of one more card to try to find the Rare Candy Shining Arcana. But it looks like we're going to evolve the bench one into Shining Arcana and use that. Again, still looking for another Shining Arcana as well as a Rare Candy, but we get an energy off of that, which is pretty okay. We've already used our supporter for turn. Scott forgot a card that is still on the board there. Hopefully he can remember. There it is. So I think we're going for an attack. No, I think he attached the reversal energy already this turn, right? Didn't he attach the reversal energy this turn already? If he did, that's a mistake. Let me know in the comments down below. I don't want to go back and check. I don't think it's really going to matter, though, because Lugia and Tyranitar are going to one-shot this Gardevoir either way. But I guess that does get an additional Psychic Energy out of Scott's hand if he did do that incorrectly. Yeah, so maybe he attached the reversal to the bench on the previous turn, and I'm just crazy, which is entirely possible. So we do have a one-shot of the Lugia V-Star. So, oh, it's a little weird seeing... I don't usually see Lugia play Palpad. I think that's an interesting inclusion in there. Not quite sure why you would play it in there. I guess because you're always trying to research early. So if you like get rid of too many bosses' orders, that would make sense. Also, I guess if you're playing Worker to try to get around Path to the Peak, that would make sense as well. So we are going to get the last single strike energy we need to our active. And Scott's deck is looking a little bit thin. That's how Gardevoir decks do tend to work. So we are going to be able to use the Cragalanche attack, 60 plus 20 for each of those single strike energies, times 2 for weakness, and milling 2 from your opponent. So actually Ionoing the cards in Scott's hand back into the deck, so that then Scott will draw actually those cards on top instead, and then we'll see some mills afterwards. So yeah, definitely the way you want to do it, just because you're probably not going to win by deck out, but maybe you can mill something important that was in deck still. Evo Incense, Capturing Aroma, flipping the heads. We're just going to grab that last Archeops out of the deck, Ultra Ball it away along with the Lugia V-Star, because we already have another Lugia V-Star in play. We've already gotten rid of another one of our Lugia Vs. I don't think that there's any world where we want to use a third Lugia V-Star in the match. We are going to find our T-Tar, our second T-Tar, going to the bench now. Again, the best attacker for this deck. The only thing is you're wishing you really had a V-Guard energy on it, because that does help with the getting around that Zacian, making it require even more energy. We are going to mill 2 with Cragalanche. It is Rare Candy Boss's Orders. That's a pretty good mill. There is a Ralts still in play, so that could have Rare Candied into Shining Arcana. And, of course, Boss's Orders, always great to mill away. Looks like Nico decided not to bench the Tyranitar. He did have it in hand, but almost benched it. I think it would have probably been fine to bench. Maybe he's thinking he wants to use this T-Tar and just the Lugia V-Star, because the Lugia V-Star has the most HP and a V-Guard energy on it. So maybe he's prioritizing that. It would be really nice to see this Tyranitar last one more turn and Nico find a boss's orders to be able to single strike crush that Gardevoir EX on the bench. That would probably give Nico the game. But we would still have to see. It would still be close at that point, but it would definitely put the game in his favor. We are going to use Refinement, discarding a Gardevoir EX. Do we have a way to find Shining Arcana or Zacian? I think those are... one Shining Arcana is in the discard pile. So we're going to use Shining Arcana. Okay, we found it. And we find a Kirlia. Oh boy. Yeah, this is Temple of Sinnoh now, getting rid of the Collapsed Stadium. Even if Tyranitar does not go down, it might not be able to attack the next turn unless Nico's able to find another Stadium card. We already saw him discard a Mesagosa earlier on purpose. I think it was the correct choice in the moment, but I think at this point you're probably regretting not having access to that one card. But Lugia usually plays like 4 Stadiums. They usually play a 2-2 split of Collapsed Stadium and Mesagosa, or 3 Mesagosa and 1 Collapse. So we will most likely see that at some point come out. I think Nico will probably still find a way to find one if he doesn't already have one in hand. And now we just need to see if we can get the one shot on this Tyranitar. So we do 60 plus 30, 60. So we need 7 energies. So we need 1 attached for turn, and then the rest can come from the discard pile. Unless we were to be playing Champions Festival and have a full bench, in which case then we could have just gotten 7 from the discard pile. But I know Scott does not have a Champions Festival. He has a lot of pretty expensive cards, but he does not own a Champions Festival to my knowledge. So there's 6 and 6 from the discard pile. So that is 120 damage to this Gardevoir. And anyway, you want to keep that Temple of Sinnoh in play, and we already attached that, put that down for turn already. So we are going to put Zacian down to the bench. Considering it, are we going to do it? Scott needs to make a decision on it. Okay, so we're not going to bench that yet. It's fine to hold it. It's just your opponent might Iono it again is the only thing. But it does protect it from getting bossed up, and... or no, was that enough to knock it out? 6, 79, 10, 15, 15. Oh, that is enough. I miscounted. You only need 6 energy. So never mind. It didn't matter. Definitely had the knockout already. So we do get the 1 Archeops to search out a gift energy for this Lugia. We are still missing 1 energy to be able to attack. Hopefully we have that in hand. We're going to use the second Archeops to get another single energy. So again, we could have used the first Archeops to get both of those energies. Maybe he thought he had a double turbo on it, but it was the jet energy instead. It is a new energy card, so it's a little interesting to get used to. But then you could have used the other Archeops to charge itself up with maybe a double turbo. I did see that was still in the deck. Definitely correct to get the gift energy, though, because your deck is still pretty thick, and you want to make sure you have, like, boss's orders and stuff the turn you need them. You still need to take 4 prize cards as well, and your opponent still has a reversal energy on that Kirlia. He is way ahead, though, so the reversal energy doesn't activate. It'll still be 1 colorless energy. We are going to use our Capturing Aroma, Flipping Heads to find an evolution. We fail to find. We're just going to shuffle that deck. That will also allow any of the cards we Iono'd ourselves to the discard, to the bottom of the deck, to now be shuffled throughout the deck. So if there was something good in his previous hand he wants to find again, that would be great. And yeah, he could not go for double turbo because of the fact that the Temple of Sinnoh was in play. He would have been 1 energy short because the double turbo would have been 1 energy card. So definitely correct to get the 4 single energy cards to the Lugia, and discards the Temple of Sinnoh just for good measure, just in case it ends up being relevant. It also makes the gift energy and that V-Guard energy come back online. So again, always relevant. And It looks like Scott is saying that he has... I don't think he had enough energy to knock it out, though. Did he have the Zacian? Oh, he had the Zacian in hand, but he got Iono'd, right? So I think at that point, Nico just scoops. He was pretty far behind. But yeah, I don't think Scott had the knockout there, because he only had like 4 energy in his discard pile. Or 6 from that was on that Gardevoir Gardevoir Shining Arcana before. So he could... And the reversal energy doesn't work right now, because Scott is in a winning position. You have to be behind on prize cards. So maybe they just miscounted and counted the reversal energy as being active. I'm not quite sure. So we're going to skip a little bit ahead. We are going to go right into turn 1 here. So Nico is going first. He unfortunately starts the Pumpkaboo. You don't like to see that. That's just in there for the path to the peak. I don't really like Pumpkaboo in Lugia right now just because it is so hard to find. You have to flip tails on Capturing Aroma. You can't nest ball for it. That's another reason why Quick Ball was so much better. And Nico just nest balls for the Lugia V and passes. Perfectly fine to have just the one Lugia V in play right now, but I think his hand by his body gestures is not too good right now. And I know he really, really wants that mat. At this point, we were all thinking that the Vulpix mat was still pretty expensive, but it's like half the price that it was before at like the start of League Cups. I think it's only like $100 right now, so not a big deal as far as League Cup mats are concerned. So we are going to Ultra Ball away Rare Candy and a Psychic Energy to get a third Ralts into play. And Scott only has a 1-card hand remaining. Hopefully that is maybe an Iono or a... preferably a Research, because... Oh, yes, Research, because you know that Nico's hand seemed pretty dead on the first turn of the game because of how he acted. So that would tell you that if you had an Iono, you don't really want to play it. We're going to Concealed Cards, discarding a Psychic Energy to draw 2 cards with the Radiant Greninja. And we are going to play a Battle VIP Pass. We only have 1 bench space remaining, but that is fine. If you even have 2 Battle VIP Passes in your hand, you could fail the first one and then use the second one to get a Ralts, just to, again, thin it out of your hand. But you could always use the refinements of the Curlias to discard them later as well, if you do find them later. So we are going to also use the Mew to find an item card off the top 6 cards of our deck. Looks like we failed to find just supporters, Pokemon, and energy. So we're going to shuffle that deck back up. We're going to attach return to the active and pass. I think the attached return to the active is fine, because even if it gets knocked out, it's just going to the discard pile, so you can always get it back out pretty easily. And if you don't get knocked out, you can just retreat your Mew without having to damage it. It only has 60 HP, so sometimes it takes a lot, too many damage counters retreating it often. So Capturing Aroma is going to find a basic Pokemon because of the way it flipped. So we are going to Ultra Ball away just 1 Archeops. That could have been 2 if he flipped heads. That's really sad to see. You would have loved to see double Archeops. Maybe Nico's only going to get 1 Archeops out this turn. So I think you're going to have to go for the Lugia, but you're going to need double Turbo Energy in hand just to attach the Pumpkaboo and then double Turbo to your Lugia V-Star you'll have on the bench. So you need to have access to all of them, and it looks like we're going to go for the Luminion for the Research instead. I do like this play a little bit better. I think that's a little bit more correct. I think just going lone Lugia V-Star is pretty greedy, and you need to have the right stuff available to you in deck. You don't like to see the Luminion being on the bench if you can avoid it, but I don't think that was avoidable for Nico right now. So he's going to attach return to the Lugia V-Star and pass. Oh, he already played a supporter for turn. So he can't play the research now. That's... okay, that was weird, sorry. Okay, so my microphone keeps disconnecting from my computer because the cable that's plugged into it keeps wiggling slightly. So I apologize, the music and my voice kept cutting in and out there for a second. So I'm going to try not to touch it. Well, usually what I do is when I'm done recording, I pull the USB out of the mic so that I can just, because I have like my default settings to be on the microphone. I don't need my microphone on all the time, but I think maybe the port is getting a little loose because I plug it in and out all the time. Maybe I should unplug the USB from the computer instead. But then that would require me getting up, and I'm lazy. That's okay. It's a Blue Yeti. It's not an expensive mic. It's like not even $100 or something these days, I think. It looks like Scott does not have a rare candy Gardevoir, so he was just able to draw a few cards and not do too much else right now. That's probably fine just because Nico doesn't really have much going on. He's going to have to attach a double turbo to his Pumpkaboo just to retreat it. Nico did decide to basically skip a turn that could have been getting an Archeops out to try to get double Archeops out instead. We do get the Ultra Ball with the second Archeops here. So, not punished for waiting a turn to get it. We are going to have to discard. It looks like an Iono, not the ideal thing, because you probably want to be playing that against Scott right now. It looks like he might have more than 6 cards in hand. So, even an Iono at a fresh 6 for having both players at 6 prize cards would still be pretty good. Gonna get the double Archeops out. We are going to need to see a double turbo still in the deck so that we can retreat this Pumpkaboo. So it might be a mistake that Nico attached a double turbo to the Lugia instead of the Pumpkaboo. We'll just have to see what's available in deck. Luckily, his opponent was not able to put the Temple of Sinnoh down, because if the Temple of Sinnoh was in play right now, legitimately, what would Nico be able to do? He would have to have his own stadium to replace it. And it looks like with the second Archeops, we're just getting 1 gift energy to the Lugia. I'm a little surprised we don't see a second colorless energy coming down to the Lugia as well. But maybe we have 1 in hand. Also, if we had Jet Energy in hand, we would have been able to avoid attaching a double turbo to the Pumpkaboo. Yeah, it looks like we have a V-Guard Energy in hand already. It always feels bad when you have to do it that way. If there was a V-Guard Energy in deck, you would have liked to see that get accelerated out and then attach for turn the V-Guard that was in your hand to the Tyranitar. Would have felt a lot better. But we're still in a decent position here for Nico, so we are going to be able to take that knockout on that Mew. You'd love to see a knockout on something that's not Mew, but here we are. So we're going to use that Fog Crystal to grab a Psychic Energy out of the deck just to thin it a little bit more. Maybe we'll see another big research from Scott, as we have already previously seen. We do have Memory Skip Ralts at worst. At worst case scenario, he can Memory Skip this Lugia while putting Temple of Sinnoh in play, force Nico to discard 2 energies and go into something else, and he wouldn't have anything else as an attacker. So that would buy Scott an additional turn as well. That would be really funny. You'd prefer to take a knockout on the Lugia, but if you miss getting the rare candy Gardevoir for this Ralts, you would still just be able to memory skip with a Temple of Sinnoh and really, really punish Nico. I mean, you could do it without the Temple of Sinnoh, but then he could retreat with just the double turbo energy into the Tyranitar and then use Cragalanche. So if you can get the Temple of Sinnoh, that just puts you in a huge position. Nico's going to have to find the replacement stadium. So Memory Skip is a very good card. That's definitely something you should be playing in Gardevoirs. It's really weird. A lot of the times people are playing 2 of the Teleportation Burst Ralts, 1 of the Scarlet and Violet Ralts, and then 1 of the Memory Skip Ralts. So I'm not sure why people have been starting to include the the Scarlet and Violet one, it does for 2 energy 30 damage, so I guess that could be relevant in certain situations. But I think the teleportation is just a lot better, because you do 10 damage, which would make like T-Tar's HP like 220, which is a pretty nice number. And then you would just go to the bench and put up like a Radiant Greninja or a Cresselia or something that you don't mind getting knocked out too much. Whereas if you're just hitting for 30, like what does that do? Like what's Psychic Weak that the 30 damage is relevant against, where it would be like 60? I guess it could matter in the mirror if you're attacking into a Zacian. Like if they load up a big Zacian to knock out your Gardevoir EX, then you could knock them out with a Ralts, I suppose. Would be pretty funny, so maybe that's why they're doing that right now. So Scott is loading up a big Zacian here. He does have to go through the V-Guard energy, so he does have to get, let's see, so it's 7, 8, 9 energy. 9 times 3 is 270, plus 60 is enough for knockout, even with the V-Guard energy. Yeah, so that's exactly the energy he needed, was 9. And he should still have at least 2 energy left in deck and hand. So it just depends on what his prize cards are, if Nico can just boss his orders and try to deck his opponent out, because that is something you can do when a big Zacian comes out like that. So we do attach for turn to the Tyranitar a single strike energy. We are going to Ultra Ball away Lugia and a single strike energy. Oh, so this might be a problem if Nico needs to find an urn this turn to put single strike energies that are in hand back into deck. That would be pretty bad. He did have the gift energy on that Lugia, so he might have just drawn a bunch of single strike energies off of the gift energy. So he is Ultra Balling, and he's just like throwing his hands down because he's upset at what he sees in his deck, I suppose. He is at 4 prize cards remaining, so only 4 cards that he could potentially, you know, want that would be relevant. We're gonna get 2 single strike energies from the deck onto his Lugia, onto his Tyranitar, sorry. So he will be able to Cragalanche for the knockout in Mill 2, and it looks like that's what Scott's readying up already. You would really love to have seen an Iono this turn as well, but looks like he mills an Iono and a Gardevoir EX from his opponent. Now we're just going to hope that Scott doesn't have a replacement attacker to one-shot this Tyranitar. Again, no V-Guard energy on the Tyranitar. Maybe that's what he... maybe he prized his second V-Guard energy as possible. I like to play 3 V-Guard energy in Lugia for that like exact reason. And here is the Temple of Sinnoh from Scott. Like I said before, would have been really good. We are going to attach for turn to the active Refinement. And, oh, we get a Battle VIP pass. That's pretty good. Now we can Shining Arcana as well, because we can evolve into that. Now, in order to knock this out, you only need 6 energy, so you just need 5 from the discard pile, so you have plenty of resources for that available. We even get the rare candy of the second Shining Arcana. We can Shining Arcana yet again this turn as well. Keep thinning that deck out and take the one-shot on the Tyranitar. So this is looking unfortunate for Nico. He is ahead on prizes right now, but he is swiftly getting behind because this Gardevoir is going to be able to take a 2-prize knockout. So if it was in a 1-prizer that he was attacking into with this Gardevoir, they would tie themselves 3-3. But since it's a 2-prizer, Scott's going to go ahead by 1 prize. We even see the Iono trying to cripple Nico's hand. I think it was already not too good, but now it's 3 cards. Yeah, you see by his body language, he's not too happy. I'm sorry, Nico. And 2 prize cards. Going down to 2 remaining. Whatever Nico attacks with next is going to have to be good. He can always attack with Archeops. He will be able to take the knockout. But he also has a Luminion on his bench he had to use earlier. Again, it was the correct play in the moment to have to do that. But unfortunately, that might be the downside of this right now, is just having a 2-prize bench sitter. that you weren't able to, like, say, collapse away. I think we are low on single prizers in the deck as well. Even discarding the Serena, the Radiant Serena with the Ultra Ball here. Getting another Luminion. So even if we were to collapse at some point this turn, it's not really going to work out. So that Iono proving very fruitful for Scott is going to force Nico to have a second Luminion in play. And now Scott, all that he needs to win the game is a boss's orders, because he will be able to use his Gardevoir EX to knock that out. It does hit for 190 damage, with the Luminion only having 170 HP. So it looks like we are going to get a Jet Energy out of the deck, and that's it. Oh no, we are out of colorless energies, it seems like. Oh yeah, because we have the Temple of Sinnoh, we can't use the double turbo energy. Oh, and he does attach the double turbo energy. Oh, and he gets the collapse. Okay. So he is able to use the double turbo energy. So I was a little concerned. Is able to take the knockout here. And now Scott just needs a boss's orders to win the game. And it looks like that's what he top decked. And Nico's very frustrated. He was complaining about this for like a week, this tournament. He's like, oh, I should have won. I wanted that mat. Oh, I just drew so unlucky. I don't know. I think Nico drew kind of okay. It's like kind of mid-range how Lugia draws. Like, he didn't draw super bad. He got the double Archeops out. It just took him an extra turn. But I think that Gardevoir is just favored into Lugia. Gardevoir is just too good of a deck. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed. This was the finals, so Scott did win the League Cup, earning him 50 CP. That didn't matter because he's not going to Worlds, and I don't think is close to his invite. I mean, Scott probably has a decent amount of points, though, from just locals. But he does win the mat, which I know he was wanting. The nice Alolan Vulpix mat. So, as always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. It is important for the YouTube algorithm. Helps your feed, helps my videos show up in other people's feeds, stuff like that. And we will see you guys next time. I think we have a league challenge at the other Flipside coming up that's actually in the 2024 season. So, we will see you guys then.